is the most overrated person in history? I'm gonna have to go with Hitler. His paintings really weren't that great. Coco Chanel. I have recently found out she was apparently a Nazi agent who went under the code name Westminster. She spent most of the Second World War in Paris in the Ritz, sleeping with Nazi officers, and had direct contact to Himmler and Goebbels. She even insisted all Jewish directors of her brand be removed. Your like and subscription will really help my channel. Jack the Ripper. More overhyped, not overrated, but he only killed 5 people. It's not like he's the original Dexter. Yes, I really hate this story. Overtold, over-theorized. Only reason no one has pinpointed him was because it was in 1888, before crime investigation matured, and they didn't have the technology. My sister. I do stuff too, Mom. Ioannis Metaxas. He was the leader of Greece from 1936 to 1941, most famous for not surrendering to fascist Italy during the Second World War. The only problem is that Metaxas was a fascist dictator himself. Yes, but he was our fascist dictator. Mao Zedong is really overrated. 500 points have been deducted from your social credit for this comment. You are no longer authorized to wear shoes in the subway train. Mother Teresa. Learning about her misdeeds was really hard to reconcile with the image painted by popular media. She felt that suffering made her closer to Christ. Her facilities were often dens of, despite her having the resources to fund them with proper medical staff and equipment. I think the world is being much helped by the suffering of the poor people. Mother Teresa. She earned billions and flew around in private jets. Thomas Edison. I think the only thing he was good at was seeing the value of various ideas and then refining them to be a viable product. I mean, he didn't invent the light bulb, but he sure refined that thing. Let's be real here. Who isn't overrated? Tutankhamun. He was a boy pharaoh that only reached the age of maybe 18, born from incest, and suffered scoliosis, a bad foot, and contracted malaria, and likely died from an infection from a broken leg. This poor boy had lots of power, but was sick all his life, and likely his advisors made all decisions for him and eventually succeeded him. Also had a very short reign that ended with a war that Egypt lost after his death. Erwin Schrödinger. He is both overrated and underrated simultaneously. Henry Ford. In business, engineering, and manufacturing, he's revered like a god. Professors like to gloss over his overwhelming anti-Semitism. Ford wrote and published a wildly anti-Semitic newspaper, which were spread around the Ford Motors facilities. Those papers were republished in Germany and became incredibly popular with the Third Reich. Heinrich Himmler described Ford as one of our most valuable, important, and witty fighters. Hitler praised Ford in Mein Kampf and referred to Ford as an inspiration. The admiration went both ways, because Ford was a Nazi sympathizer to the highest degree. Che Guevara. Horrible person that somehow became a symbol of rebellion and freedom. Ronald Reagan. He was always a popular president, but he has since been recast as a great one as well. Yes, you can easily place him on that pedestal. You would merely need to ignore the Iran-Contra scandal, the huge budget deficits, his environment ignorance, his do-nothing reaction to the looming AIDS epidemic, his courting of Saddam Hussein, and numerous other blunders. Don't forget the failed war on drugs that led to mass incarceration and had zero impact on drug use. Henry VIII. Let's be honest, all he did was strong-arm the church so he could marry another woman, the fat, greedy sod. Douglas MacArthur was obsessed with his legacy while being a far less capable leader than many of the other overlooked commanders in the Pacific Theater. He spent thousands of lives in battles on islands that had little strategic significance, declared the battle for the Philippines over while intense fighting raged on, and was disliked by many serving under him. Christopher Columbus. The people who are naysaying this are confusing overrated with important. Columbus and his voyage weren't meaningless, but how they've been presented to many people makes it overrated. We must not forget about transatlantic slavery and the genocide of Native Americans. Yes, but he also directed Harry Potter, which was pretty cool. Your like and subscription will really help my channel.